Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Scott Galloway. He's the speaker that I chose for the Speech for Change assignment. I've been following Scott Galloway for about a year or two now. I discovered him on a podcast, and I really disagree with a lot of things he says. But I think that Scott Galloway, if you haven't heard of him, his credibility does speak for itself. He's an NYU Stern School of Business professor. He's in their MBA program teaching all their master students. He's a founder of three different companies: L2, Red Envelope, and Profit. L2 he did sell for upwards of $100 million. He's the founder and speaker of his own podcast, the Prof G Show, where he talks about different business topics on a weekly basis. And fourth, he's the author of his own book called The Four, which is a USA Today and New York Times bestseller. He This book is really just more about the Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple uh, quad, and he just talks about how we in society we can't escape these companies. They're so big and so large that it's very very difficult to escape them on a any day basis for just Americans, and it's interesting. I would recommend you looking into that. But his speech that we're talking about today it's a TED talk. It's called "How the U.S. is Destroying Young People's Future," and it's more of a call to action sort of speech. He's demanding social and economic reform for generational equity, and he touched on four different topics: the skyrocketing cost of college tuition, the why this housing affordability crisis that we have, that housing is becoming more and more unaffordable for the average American, and declining economic mobility, meaning that the economic status someone has throughout their life, it doesn't just stay stagnant, it's actually declining. And typically as someone get older, they start to make more money, but their economic status isn't changing because of inflation and the dollar and everything becoming more expensive, the dollar becoming more weakening, and people's wages aren't on the same trajectory as well. And he talked about the widening wealth gap between the haves and have-nots. But the fourth thing is the corporate consolidation. There's just more and more bigger corporations that pretty much run the whole United States are becoming bigger and bigger, and there's no other companies that can really compete with them and create a challenge for them in this market. The reason why he talked about these topics in this speech is because, in his own sense, he thinks that the American dream is slowly slipping away for many young people. They're facing uh, steady wages that are not pacing with inflation. The housing market is becoming more and more unsettling and more like even just volatile. People can't afford a home anymore because their wages are staying stagnant. And people that do go to college, the cost of college is getting more expensive, but people's wages are not really staying. Again, they're not staying parallel to these rising costs, and they're in debt for much longer, and it's crippling to many young people. But he talks about that young people are not the ones who are necessarily failing. It's more of the system that is failing them. And he warns that if these trends keep happening, there will be more civil and social unrest, higher cases of mental health issues, and just an overall loss of faith in our democratic institution and overall country. The reason I think it's a efficient speech is because I really like his introductory and conclusion question. He asks the same question, which is, "Do you love your children?" And it seems more like a rhetorical question, which it is. And then you hear people in the crowd laughing, sort of saying, "Yeah, of course." But throughout the speech and throughout his presentation, he has that question in the back of their mind, and he talks about all these things that are happening in society that is crippling the future generation, which is their future children, and it's not going to be the same world that the parents were living in previously. He does have a persuasive approach. His ethos, like I said, his credibility does speak for itself. So he's been there, he's done that. He has very many accolades to back it up. But his logos, he does provide a lot of facts and statistics that support his argument. He also has a very strong inductive reasoning. He brings to the table many charts, examples, case studies that just add fuel to the fire of his points. And I know we talked about in the book that curse words are not always, you could steer away from them, but I think that he uses a strategic emphasis for using curse words because it creates more of a emphatic effect within his speech. And he does use humor throughout his speech as well. There's scattered humor throughout that just sort of breaks the atmosphere, breaks the energy around some of the points that he's making that are serious points, but he just throws in some humor to make it have a lighthearted effect throughout. But lastly, he does end it with a call to action, which is an act of agreement that he just has people again ask themselves that conclusion question and provide them with a solution to go out forward and apply what they just learned and what he just went over. So that's it. I did enjoy Scott Galloway's speech. I hope you watch it as well. You can find it on YouTube. It's a TED Talk, and I hope you like it. And yeah, let me know what you think.